this is gonna be a fun experience.
Fuck Donald Trump. Yeah, nigga, fuck Donald Trump. Yeah, home of the ride, the king ride, we don't give a fuck. Black students, ejected from your rallies.
Alright, well, hello. Today I thought I would share a fucking crazy story. That seems to be a popular thing to do on the internet. Today I'm going to talk about, say today as if I've ever done this before, I'm going to talk about the first time I ever went to a house party, got pulled over by the cops, got a ticket for possession of marijuana, and had my weed stolen by the cops. Pretty sure they smoked it. Who knows? And got off scot-free. Pretty much. Other than my mom, you know, flipping her shit. Rightfully so. It's Halloween last year. I'm gonna fucking roll a joint while I do this because YOLO. I'm a piece of degenerate garbage. This happened in 2015, last Halloween. I went to a Halloween party. It was fucking lit, honestly. It was my first house party. It was pretty crazy. It's just a bunch of high schoolers basically getting like plastered, smoking a lot of weed, eating candy, beer pong, you know. And me and my boyfriend were there. My boyfriend at the time, we were there. We brought like just a whole bunch of weed because we were gonna try to sell a lot of it. And we had rolled a lot of it up already, so we were just gonna like sell blunts for like $8 a piece. So we had like a gallon size Ziploc bag, like the ones that are literally like this big, and it was half full. It had like half an ounce of weed in it, and then like a whole lot of blunts already rolled up. We had probably like 24 already rolled up, and then like a half an ounce of weed too, or probably not even half an ounce, less than that. So we had it all like together in a big old gallon size bag, and I brought my I had like a backpack kind of purse thing that I had brought. It was like, you know, those bags that aren't really backpacks, but they aren't really purses. It was one of those. And so I had brought that because I had a bunch of like shit, because I was, you know, I had like a jacket and all my makeup and shit because I was dressed like a little vampire hoe. And I say vampire, I was really just dressed like a fucking, this is even funnier. The part is I was wearing like this slutty ass costume. It was my first Halloween party, so I was like, okay, you know, I'm just gonna go all out dressed like a fucking hoe. So, and then I'll put fake teeth on and I'll say I'm a vampire. So I filed fake nails to like points. I glued them on my teeth with nail glue. Don't do that. Your dentist will fucking kill you. So I wore like these high-waisted shorts and fishnet stockings and fucking combat boots and like this really slutty crop top with like, it was like lace, and my boobs were like just falling out at one point. At one point in the party, one of my friends came up to me and she was like, girl, and she like pulled up my shirt and I was like, oh, oops. And I don't even have big tits, so it was bad. But I was wearing a jacket, so I was like, oh, it's fine. And so yeah, I was dressed like a hoe. And this party gets wild. At one point, a bunch of people got really like sick. You know, high schoolers can't really handle their alcohol. People started throwing up. At that point, everyone decided to leave. The party just kind of like ended, and they had to call the paramedics, I think, because one kid got, so he was like diabetic or something. He was that like fucked up. And so me and my boyfriend were like, okay, we're out. And so we left. Before we left the party, I had taken the bag of weed and put it in my bag because he just had like a hoodie with big pockets. He didn't have like a bag or anything. And we didn't want to just carry a big old bag of weed out like on the street to the car. So I put it in my bag, in my little backpack purse. And as we were leaving, we were like turning off of the street that this party was on. It was in like a neighborhood, in a house. And we were turning off the street. And my dumbass, I was looking at the GPS because I wasn't familiar with the neighborhood. I was looking at the GPS, and before I had like turned on the directions, and because I was just trying to figure out like how to get onto the main road. And I was like, oh, turn left here, turn left here. He's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, turn left. Because it looked like a street, like a two-way street. It was not. It was a one-way street. We turned the wrong way down a one-way street. And as soon as we realized that, he's like, oh shit, and he turned off into a parking lot as soon as he saw cars coming the opposite direction. Thank God. And he turned off into like a parking lot of like this parking garage. I don't know what it was, like some office building or something. I have no idea what it was because it was dark out. It was like probably like midnight at this point. And then as soon as we pull into the parking lot, we see lights behind us, and we were just like, oh fuck. And we look in the rearview mirror, and there's like two cop cars pulling into the parking lot behind us. And so they pull up behind us. My boyfriend rolls down his window. One of the cops gets out of his car, walks up, shines the bright ass fucking light right in my boyfriend's eyeballs. And my boyfriend is like that. And the guy's just like, yeah, it's supposed to be bright. And I'm like, this is gonna be a fun experience. Cop asks all the questions like, you know, have you been drinking tonight? And blah, blah, blah. You know, you just turned the wrong way down a one-way street. And he's like, oh yeah. And I was like, oh, that was my fault. I told him to do that. It's like, it was my fault. And he's like, have you had anything to drink tonight? My boyfriend, he's like, oh, I had like 2 beers. So the cop is like, where are you from? My boyfriend tells him he's from like another city. And so he like asks us how old we are. And I was 16 at the time. I told him I was 17 just because I didn't want to be like weird. And because my boyfriend was a couple years older than me and I didn't want to make it seem even worse. My dog just tried to pee on the carpet. So the cop like asked him to get out of the car because at this point they just assume that he's like drunk. And they ask, the cop sees eye drops in like the little pocket on the driver's side door. And he's like, do you smoke marijuana, sir? I just see you have eye drops there. And I was like, fucking allergies? Like, that's a thing. I think it's kind of stupid for a cop to just like assume that you smoke weed because they see eye drops. But I mean, like, you know. And so like they get him out of the car. They like ask, you know, all these questions like, do you have any drugs in the car? And blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no. And I was like, and so they get my boyfriend out of the car. One of the cops like takes him over to like the other side of the parking lot and starts like doing all the like tests and stuff and the breathalyzer and the, you know, like walk a straight line and all that shit. Just like trying to see, because they were like just pretty insistent that he was drunk or like under the influence. And he wasn't drunk. He hadn't drank at all that night. I had been drinking. I wasn't like drunk. I wasn't really high or anything. I think he might have smoked a little bit, so I don't know how, but neither of us were like fucked up or anything. We weren't driving like fucked up or anything. Fuck that. Fuck people who drink drive. So yeah, the cops are testing him the whole time. I'm just sitting in the passenger seat like freaking out, having a heart attack. My boyfriend's car is a fucking mess. Like everything he owns is in his car pretty much, all his clothes like and stuff, because it's a long story. But he has like a bunch of shit in his car. His trunk is just full of crap, which ended up saving me a little bit because my pipe was in the trunk with like all of his other shit, because we didn't have it, we weren't using it, and so it was just like in the trunk with all of his other shit. And they like opened the trunk and were like, okay, wow, fuck that, and they just kind of like they rifled through, but they didn't like take everything out and like search through it all. But they did take my bag. They searched through my bag. This cop knows that I'm 17. He's searching through my bag, finds a big old bag of weed, finds like a grinder and stuff, which he didn't take, thankfully. I was pretty surprised they did. Like they only took the weed. They didn't take like our pipes or lighters or like anything like that. And I just like am standing there with my hands on the thing, because he told me to put them there, and I was just like standing there the whole time. Even after he told me I could move, I was just like with my hands on like the hood of the car while he was searching through my bag. And then like there were 2 cop cars, and like 3 or 4 cops got out, and I was like, okay, that's a little bit much for like a fucking traffic violation, but whatever. I mean, I know like it was Halloween, so they were definitely searching for like drunk drivers and like, you know, hard drugs and stuff. But I mean, like in my city, weed isn't like a huge concern. Like this is like a really big, you know, pot city, even though it's not legal. And so, you know, they weren't real concerned with it. Cops were mostly like looking for like meth and like cocaine and all that stuff, like party drugs, MDMA, Molly, all that shit. And we only had weed, so they were just like, okay, you know, obviously we can't like let you keep the weed. But we'll just, you know, give me a ticket and let you go. They wrote out the ticket. I, you know, lied about my age and stuff on the ticket, which is so stupid. Don't do that. Don't fucking lie to a police officer about your age. It's much easier to just be honest and then deal with, like, the shit that comes after that. Because if you lie and then you get caught and you have to explain why you lied about it, then you're fucked. So, yeah, we got a ticket for possession, and where I live, you get a ticket for possession if it's less than 4 grams. We had well over that. So, like, good guy cops, for real, for, like, only giving us a citation for having as much marijuana as we did. But, yeah, they took the weed. They gave us tickets. They were like, your court date's in a month. So, my court date was on December 2nd. And I was freaking out. I have another story about how I explained that to my mom. I actually lied to her about how I got the ticket. I didn't tell her that I got it on Halloween. I told her that, like, it's a whole nother story. There was this other shit that happened. But anyway, so yeah, I went to my court date. My boyfriend, I don't even know if he went to his court date, honestly. I asked him and he said, oh yeah, but I really don't know. And so I showed up to my court date with my mom, who was not happy that she had to take off work to take me to the courthouse. I had to miss like 2 classes to go. she was just not happy with me. And so we show up to the court thing with the ticket. She insisted on hanging on to the ticket. She wouldn't let me have it. Whenever I gave it to her, she insisted on like keeping it. So she brought that, and so we go up to the desk, we like give it to the lady, and she goes by, she like goes to the back and like starts looking through files and stuff, and then she comes up, she's like, so we have no record of the police officer ever turning in this ticket, so they just never did the paperwork or something, like we have no record of it. And my mom was just like, and I was just like, I was relieved. I was a little bit annoyed because I was like, wow, so all this was for nothing. But I was so fucking relieved. Like, I'm not going to have that on my record. I was not going to have to pay any fines. My mom was still really pissed. She was especially pissed now because, like, she basically had to take the morning off work for nothing. And so, yeah, that whole situation, I could have just, like, honestly, if I ever get a ticket again, I mean, I'm almost 18, so it really doesn't matter that much. But if I ever get a ticket again, I'm not going to tell her. I'm just going to be like, oh, yeah, I have to go do something, and then I'm going to go to my court date. Because, like, you know, parents generally finding out that their child got a citation for possession of drugs is not, like, a, you know, real happy thing. Yeah, I went to my court date. Cops never turned it in. I'm pretty sure they probably just, like, didn't want to turn in all the weed. There was, like, 3 or 4 cops. They probably just, like, went and got really high off of that weed. So yeah, that's the story of the first time I went to a house party, got pulled over by cops, had my bag searched, had my weed stolen by cops, and went to a court date for a ticket that I apparently did not have. So yeah, that's an interesting story, and that's not even the most fucked up thing that's ever happened to me. But yeah, I'm gonna go smoke this now. I hope you enjoyed this fucking crazy shit. Yeah, if you would like to hear more stories, then let me know. Bye!
I came to a realization, and I hope you can take it. I hope you can take it all.